There is a rhythm to life, an unseen current that carries you forward even when you think you are standing still. You may not notice it in the chaos of survival, when every moment feels like a fight, when every day is spent chasing the next breath, the next meal, the next small piece of safety. In that place, life is not lived, it is endured. The horizon seems so far away that you forget it even exists. But what you do not see is that even in those moments of struggle, something deeper is at work. Beneath the noise of your worries, the ground is shifting. The tide is turning. And you are already moving, not into more struggle, but into abundance. You have been taught to think that abundance is something you must chase, something distant that requires endless effort. But abundance is not a finish line. It is a state of being. It begins when the mind unclenches from fear, when the body no longer trembles from scarcity. The seed of it is planted in you now, in this very moment, and it grows not from force, but from trust. The same way winter slowly becomes spring without your intervention, so too will your survival quietly transform into something far greater. It's a matter of survival sharpens you. It makes you resourceful, it teaches you resilience, and it reveals to you what truly matters. Without those years of clawing your way forward, you would not recognize abundance when it comes. In the quiet moments between your fears, you can feel it approaching. A lightness in your chest, a small but undeniable sense that the heaviness is not permanent. The bills may still be due, the obstacles may still appear, but the energy is shifting. The air feels different. You begin to notice opportunities instead of threats, open doors instead of walls. This transition is not something you can force. The more you push, the more it slips away, because abundance flows best to the relaxed heart. When you are clenched in desperation, you close yourself off from the very currents that would carry you forward. But when you release your grip, when you let the river move you, you find yourself arriving in places you could never have reached by sheer effort alone. Survival taught you to hold on for dear life. Abundance will teach you to let go. You might think you have to earn your right to abundance, but the truth is you are already worthy of it simply because you exist. The world has been preparing this shift for you long before you could see it. The path is already paved. All that's left is for you to walk it. And as you walk, you will notice that your choices begin to change. You are no longer making decisions from fear, but from possibility. You are no longer trying to escape danger, but to create beauty. This is how you know you are moving into abundance. Not because you suddenly have everything, but because you no longer feel like you are losing everything. And so, take a deep breath. The days of scraping by are giving way to days of overflowing. The energy that once went into survival will now pour into creation, into joy, into the building of a life that feels expansive instead of confined. You will look back on the years of struggle not with bitterness, but with gratitude, for they have carved the space that abundance now rushes to fill. You are crossing that invisible line, and you do not need to run. The current is already carrying you there. Even when you are caught in the grind of survival, when every day feels like a repeat of the same exhausting struggle, there are forces moving in ways you cannot yet see. Life does not transform in the way a door swings open. It is more like the slow turning of the seasons. You don't notice the first warm breeze after winter, nor do you hear the first leaf falling when summer fades. Yet the shift is happening all the same. In the depths of hardship, you might believe that abundance is somewhere far away, locked behind walls of effort, time, and luck. But the truth is, even in your darkest nights, the soil is preparing for the bloom. Things are aligning for you, quietly, invisibly, beneath the surface of your awareness. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it isn't real. The roots of change are often hidden, and the most important transformations take place in silence. When you are living in survival mode, your attention narrows to the most immediate concerns, the next bill, the next problem, the next potential threat. Your mind becomes a scanner for danger, constantly seeking what could go wrong. And in that constant vigilance, you miss what is beginning to go right. It is easy to overlook the subtle shifts. A small opportunity here, a kind word there, an unexpected moment of relief. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are the early threads of abundance, weaving their way into your life. The shift from survival to abundance does not always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it tiptoes in softly, so softly you could mistake it for nothing at all. Think of the way seeds work. You can plant them in the ground and stare at the soil for days, seeing nothing. If you didn't know better, you might think nothing is happening. But beneath that surface, a transformation is underway. The seed is cracking open, the roots are stretching downward, the stem is pushing upward, and life is quietly building the foundation for something beautiful to break through. This is the way abundance begins to enter your life. Just because you can't see the green sprout yet doesn't mean the growth isn't happening. In fact, those unseen moments are some of the most critical, for they prepare the strength and stability that abundance needs to flourish. There are people and circumstances already moving in your favor that you have no knowledge of yet. Perhaps someone is speaking your name in a room you've never stepped into. Perhaps a decision is being made in a place you've never been that will eventually open a door for you. Perhaps the struggle you're enduring right now is shaping you into someone who can handle the very blessings you've been asking for. These unseen shifts are as much a part of abundance as the money, relationships, or opportunities you can touch. The universe does not deliver all at once. It delivers in steps, aligning pieces quietly until the moment is right for you to see the full picture. It's important to understand that abundance is not just about more money, more possessions, or more opportunities. It's about moving from a place where you feel trapped and powerless to a place where you feel free and capable. Even if your circumstances have not yet changed in the ways you wish, you may already feel small pockets of that freedom emerging. Maybe you find yourself worrying less about something that used to consume you. Maybe you have more moments of peace than you did before. Maybe you've started to dream again, even if only for a few minutes a day. These are not coincidences. They are the earliest signs of abundance making its way into your life. In survival mode, your energy is consumed by the basics, keeping the roof over your head, keeping the lights on, keeping food on the table. In abundance, there is space to breathe, to think beyond the next day, to imagine a life that is more than just getting by. The transition between these two states is rarely abrupt. It is a gradual expansion, like light creeping into a dark room. One day you realize you can see more than you could before. You start to notice beauty in small things. You feel gratitude for what you have, even if it's not yet everything you want. Gratitude is the language of abundance, and the more you speak it, the more fluent you become in receiving. You might think that your current struggles prove that abundance is not here yet, but that's only because you're measuring it by the wrong signs. If you look only for big dramatic changes, you might miss the gentle, consistent flow that is already carrying you toward a new reality. Abundance often begins in the unseen places, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in the way you speak to yourself. The moment you shift from thinking, "I will never have enough," to "something better is on the way," you have already stepped into the current that leads to more. The outer world always lags behind the inner world. So if you've begun to feel even a flicker of hope, you are already further along than you think. This is why patience is so important. The same patience that allows a gardener to trust the seed is the patience you must give to your own transformation. You cannot dig up the soil every day to check if the plant is growing. Doing so would only harm it. In the same way, you cannot constantly question whether abundance is coming, whether you are moving forward, whether life is changing for the better. That constant questioning pulls you back into survival mode, into the doubt and fear that choke the flow of what's already arriving. Trust that the shift is happening, even when you can't see it, because it is. In the quiet spaces between your worries, you may have already felt it. That strange, unexplainable sense that things might actually work out. That you are not doomed to live in struggle forever. That the weight you've been carrying will not always feel so heavy. You might not be able to explain why you feel this, but you don't need to. This is the whisper of abundance, telling you that the ground beneath your feet is moving, that the currents are changing, that what you've been surviving is slowly giving way to something greater. And while it might still feel distant, the truth is it is already here, unfolding silently, preparing to reveal itself when you are ready to step into it fully. The years you have spent in survival mode were not wasted time, even though they may have felt like endless struggle. Those days, months, or even years when you were scraping by, doing whatever it took to make it through, were shaping you in ways you couldn't recognize while you were in them. They were carving out strength in you, teaching you to adapt, showing you the depths of your resilience. They were stripping away illusions and distractions, forcing you to focus on what truly mattered. Every sleepless night, every moment you thought you couldn't keep going but did anyway, was forging a version of you that could stand in abundance without being swallowed by it. Survival is not a punishment. It is the training ground for abundance. If abundance had arrived in your life too early, before you had learned the lessons of scarcity, it would have slipped through your fingers. Without the wisdom that comes from enduring hard times, you would not have known how to appreciate it, nurture it, and sustain it. Survival has a way of sharpening your vision. It makes you notice the value of things that others overlook. The simple meal, the quiet evening, the kind gesture, these small recognitions are the seeds of gratitude. And gratitude is the soil in which abundance thrives. Without the contrast of struggle, abundance would simply feel ordinary. But because you have known what it is to have less, you will see more clearly when you have more. Think about how a tree grows. In the harsh seasons, when the weather is unforgiving and the conditions are poor, the tree focuses on strengthening its roots. Those roots dig deeper into the earth, anchoring the tree against the storms. You are no different. Your survival years were your root years. They forced you to dig deep, to find inner reserves of courage and patience you didn't know you had. You learned how to stand firm when the winds of life tried to break you. And now, as abundance begins to flow toward you, those strong roots will keep you grounded so that you can enjoy your blessings without being blown away by them. The mind. Survival teaches you to recognize real value. When you have been without, you understand that money is not just paper, that opportunities are not just random chances, that relationships are not just convenient connections. You see them as gifts to be respected and cared for. People who have never struggled sometimes take abundance for granted, wasting it without thought. But you will treat it differently. You will know what it means to stretch what you have, to make something out of nothing, to turn the smallest resources into something meaningful. That resourcefulness will not disappear when abundance arrives. It will multiply your blessings. You will know how to make them last. The challenges of survival have also refined your sense of discernment. You have learned to read people, to sense intentions, to spot danger before it reaches your doorstep. These skills will protect your abundance. When opportunities begin to come your way, you will be able to distinguish between those that build you up and those that lead you astray. You will recognize when someone is genuine and when they are only there for what they can take. This is a wisdom born out of necessity, and it is priceless in the world of abundance, where not every open door leads somewhere good. Perhaps most importantly, survival has taught you patience. You have endured long stretches of waiting for the situation to change, waiting for help to arrive, waiting for the storm to pass. And though it may have been frustrating, that waiting has built endurance in you. In abundance, patience allows you to grow your blessings rather than consume them all at once. It teaches you that not every reward has to be immediate, and that sometimes the best things come slowly, over time. It's not even useless. Rating isn't useless, just love. It teaches you that not every reward has to be immediate, and that sometimes the best things come slowly, over time. Without patience, abundance can lead to impulsiveness and loss. With patience, abundance becomes a steady river instead of a sudden flood. There is also a humility that comes from survival. When you have been at the bottom, you know how quickly life can change. That humility will keep you connected to the very source of your blessings. It will keep you generous, willing to help others, because you remember what it felt like to need help yourself. Abundance without humility can turn into arrogance. But when you carry the memory of your struggles, abundance becomes a tool to uplift, not just to indulge. You will want to share it, to spread it, to use it in ways that make a difference. It means the less we love, the less will leave us apart and alone. Some of the people you will meet in your abundant years will not understand the depth of your gratitude or the way you handle your blessings. They may think you are overly careful or that you treasure small things too much. But they will not have lived through what you have. They will not have sat in the quiet panic of wondering how you would make it through another week. They will not have felt the sting of turning down something you wanted because you simply could not afford it. This is why survival changes you, because it etches the memory of struggle into your soul, and that memory becomes a compass that guides you when abundance arrives. It is easy to look back at your years of survival with bitterness, to feel like they stole time from you. But if you look closely, you will see that they also gave you something irreplaceable, the tools to build a life that lasts. They have trained you to be a good steward of what you receive, to protect it, to nurture it, and to grow it. Without those years, abundance might have been nothing more than a passing moment. With them, abundance can become a lasting way of life. So when you feel frustrated that you are not yet where you want to be, remember that survival is not separate from abundance. It is the path to it. Every challenge, every obstacle, every hard choice has been part of your preparation. You are not just stumbling into abundance by chance. You are arriving with the strength, clarity, and wisdom to hold it, because survival has shaped you into the kind of person who can. Fear has a way of gripping the mind so tightly that it blocks the very things you are longing for. When you are in survival mode, your thoughts are often drenched in worry about what might go wrong, about whether you have enough, about how to keep yourself from losing the little that you do have. That fear feels justified because for so long it has been your shield. It has kept you alert, ready to defend yourself against loss, but the same fear that protected you in scarcity will keep you trapped there if you never learn to release it. Abundance does not flourish in the soil of desperation. It needs the openness of trust. Letting go is not giving up. It is creating space for something greater to flow in. When you cling to survival with white-knuckled tension, every decision is shaped by the need to protect yourself. You spend your days calculating risks, holding on to whatever you can, afraid to make a move that could lead to loss. That mindset makes sense when you have little to work with. But when you are stepping into abundance, it becomes a cage. The opportunities you've been praying for require a different posture, one of openness, receptivity, and willingness to allow life to unfold without controlling every detail. This is why letting go is so essential. The energy of abundance moves like water, and water cannot fill a clenched fist. Letting go means releasing the belief that you must micromanage your way to safety. It means allowing the current to carry you instead of exhausting yourself by swimming against it. It is trusting that life has the capacity to bring you more than you could force into being through sheer effort. The irony is that most people believe they must fight harder to create abundance, but the truth is that the fight itself often blocks it. After all, you create your own agenda. Without creating abundance, you create your own agenda. Fear-based action tends to create more fear. Trust-based action creates room for growth. Think of the difference between a person who plants a garden and then tries to pull the plants up to make them grow faster, versus the person who plants and then waters them patiently, knowing the process will take time. The first person's impatience destroys the very thing they wanted. The second person's trust in the process allows the garden to flourish. Abundance responds to trust in the same way. When you let go, you stop smothering it with your need to control, and you allow it to breathe, to grow, and to expand naturally. Letting go does not mean becoming careless. It is not about ignoring responsibilities or abandoning all effort. It is about shifting the energy behind your actions. In survival, effort is driven by fear. I must do this or I will lose everything. In abundance, effort is driven by possibility. I am building something because I trust it will grow. When you are no longer acting out of desperation, You begin to see choices differently. You take opportunities that once felt too risky because you trust that even if they do not work out, you will still be okay. You should first ensure that whatever you have, you should focus it all upon yourself. You should be the practical help and courage and support of others. Fear and desperation narrow your vision. They make you focus only on avoiding loss, which causes you to miss the doors that are opening around you. When you let go, your perspective shifts. You start to notice opportunities that were invisible before. You feel more creative, more resourceful, more willing to explore new possibilities. And as you say yes to these opportunities, they expand into more. This is how letting go becomes a bridge between survival and abundance. It turns your energy from one of holding back to one of moving forward. One of the hardest parts about letting go is the feeling that you might lose control. You've trained yourself to hold everything together, to anticipate every potential disaster, because that was how you stayed afloat during hard times. The idea of loosening your grip feels dangerous. But control is often an illusion. The things you have been clinging to may not be what is keeping you safe. They might be what is keeping you small. In truth, safety often comes from allowing life to work with you instead of trying to force it to work for you. Letting go also creates emotional space. In survival mode, your mind is crowded with constant calculations, how to stretch money, how to juggle responsibilities, how to solve every problem before it arrives. This constant mental tension leaves no room for inspiration or joy. When you release some of that control, you create openings in your life where unexpected blessings can enter. A conversation you didn't plan might lead to an opportunity, and a moment of rest might spark an idea that changes your direction entirely. These moments do not happen when your entire focus is on guarding what you already have. You may not even realize how much of your energy is tied up in fear until you start letting it go. Fear is heavy, and carrying it every day becomes so normal that you forget what lightness feels like. But once you begin to loosen your grip, you notice that your body feels less tense, your thoughts less clouded. You start to trust that if one door closes, another will open. You begin to understand that abundance is not a single chance you must cling to, but an endless flow of possibilities that you can tap into again and again. When you stop holding on so tightly, you give yourself permission to dream beyond survival. You allow yourself to imagine a life that is not about avoiding loss, but about creating joy. This shift in vision changes everything. You no longer ask, how can I keep what I have? Instead, you ask, how can I grow into more? That question alone aligns you with the energy of abundance, because it assumes that more is possible, that life will continue to expand for you, and it will, but only if you create the space for it. Letting go is not something that happens all at once. It is a gradual process, a daily choice to release a little more fear, a little more control, and a little more doubt. Each time you choose trust over anxiety, you make room for abundance to move in. Each time you allow yourself to rest instead of forcing another hour of struggle, you strengthen your faith in the process. And each time you stop clinging to what is, you open yourself to what could be. Eventually you realize that letting go is not about losing, it is about gaining. It is about clearing the clutter of fear so that the richness of life has room to take root. And once you understand that, you will see why abundance and relaxation are inseparable. Because only when you loosen your grip can your hands, your heart, and your life be open enough to receive. The idea that you must prove yourself worthy of abundance is one of the most persistent illusions people carry. Many have been taught, either by upbringing or experience, that they must suffer enough, work endlessly, or achieve some imagined level of perfection before they can have the life they desire. This belief runs deep, and it keeps people chasing and striving, always postponing their sense of arrival. But abundance is not a prize given to the most deserving after years of struggle. It is not a reward handed out after you've ticked off enough boxes. It is the natural state of life, and you are already worthy of it simply because you exist. Your value is not tied to how hard you've worked or how much you've endured. It is woven into your very being. The world often tells you that worth is conditional, that you must meet certain standards, look a certain way, have certain qualifications, or achieve certain milestones before you can enjoy the fullness of life. And yet, nature tells a different story. The sun rises each morning without asking whether you've earned its light. The rain falls without checking if you've been good enough to deserve it. Trees bear fruit not because they've proven themselves to anyone, but because that is what they are meant to do. Abundance is not something you have to earn. It is something you align yourself with by recognizing that you are already enough. When you believe you are unworthy, even if abundance is within reach, you will push it away. You will self-sabotage without even realizing it. You will question every opportunity, doubt every blessing, and look for reasons why it can't last. This is why recognizing your inherent worth is essential. When you accept that you are worthy now without needing to change into someone else, you stop resisting the good that wants to enter your life. You become a willing receiver instead of someone who is always apologizing for taking up space. The belief in your worthiness changes the way you see yourself and the way you move in the world. In survival mode, you often feel as though you must justify every step you take, every resource you use, every bit of joy you allow yourself. There is guilt attached to wanting more, as if your desires are unreasonable or selfish. But when you truly understand that abundance is part of your birthright, that guilt begins to dissolve. You start to allow yourself to want without shame. You stop seeing your desires as a burden and start seeing them as a compass, pointing you toward the life you are meant to live. Abundance flows most easily to those who believe they belong in it. This is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is standing in the truth that you are not separate from the source of life that creates beauty, opportunity, and prosperity. You are a part of it. You are an expression of it. When you understand this, you no longer see abundance as something outside of you that you must run after. You see it as something that is drawn to you because you are a natural match for it. Just as flowers open to the sun without hesitation, you can open to abundance without feeling you have to earn it first. The world is full of examples of people who have wealth, love, or success without having done enough to deserve it in the eyes of others. And there are just as many people who have worked endlessly without ever experiencing true abundance. This alone should tell you that worthiness and abundance are not directly tied to effort. Effort matters, yes, but it is not the foundation. The foundation is your acceptance of yourself as already worthy. From that acceptance, your actions naturally align with creating and receiving more. No way or in any way kidnapped from that basis. You're that incredible, world-class individual who succeeded in anything. Build it. The fear of not being worthy often comes from comparison. You see someone else's life and measure yourself against it, deciding that you fall short. But abundance is not a competition. It is not limited to a fixed amount that must be divided. The fact that someone else is living fully does not diminish your ability to do the same. The ocean does not run out of water when one wave rises higher than another. In the same way, life does not run out of abundance when someone else experiences it. There is enough for you too, and you do not need to prove why you should have your share. Believing in your inherent worth also changes how you handle the abundance that arrives. When you see yourself as unworthy, you may cling to it out of fear, or squander it because deep down you expect it to disappear. But when you know you deserve to have it, you treat it with respect and care, not desperation. You see it as something that belongs in your life, and because you believe it belongs, it tends to stay. You attract more of it because you are no longer pushing it away with doubt and fear. There is also a peace that comes with accepting your worth. The endless striving, the constant hustle to prove yourself begins to fade. You still work, you still grow, but the energy is different. It is no longer about earning your place. It is about expressing who you already are. You create because it brings you joy, not because you are afraid you won't be enough if you don't. That shift in energy is magnetic to abundance. It draws opportunities, relationships, and resources to you because they match the frequency of ease and confidence you are now living in. You might still have moments when old beliefs try to pull you back into doubt, when you question whether you are really deserving of what's coming your way. That is natural because survival mode leaves deep patterns. But in those moments, remind yourself that your worth is not up for debate. You were born worthy, you will die worthy. Nothing you gain or lose in between can alter that truth. Abundance is not something you need to justify receiving. It is something you allow by standing fully in the reality that you already deserve. When you live from that truth, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop shrinking and start expanding. You stop waiting for permission and start stepping into the life you've always wanted, not because you finally earned it, but because you finally remembered it was yours all along. And in that remembering, you make space for abundance to flow in naturally, without force, without guilt, and without hesitation. Before abundance fully arrives in the physical sense, it first begins as a subtle shift within you. The world around you might still look the same. Your daily routines may still carry traces of the old struggles. And yet something deep inside feels different. It is as if the weight you've been carrying is slowly becoming lighter, even though you haven't yet put it down. This is how the transition from survival to abundance begins. Not with a sudden transformation that everyone can see, but with quiet signs that only you can feel at first. These inner signals are the early indicators that the change you've been waiting for is already underway. You may notice it in the way your thoughts are starting to shift. In survival mode, the mind is often consumed with fear, with what-if scenarios, with the constant calculation of how to avoid loss. But when abundance begins to approach, those thoughts gradually lose their grip. You find yourself imagining new possibilities instead of obsessing over worst-case outcomes. You start asking, what if things work out? Instead of, what if everything goes wrong? This change in inner dialogue is one of the clearest signs that the tide is turning in your favor. It means your mind is beginning to align with the reality you're moving toward, even before it has shown up around you. Your emotional state begins to reflect this shift as well. You may have been used to feeling heavy, anxious, or constantly on guard. But now, moments of peace are appearing in between the worry. You might catch yourself smiling for no reason, feeling a sense of hope that can't be explained by your current circumstances. These moments are not random. They are evidence that your inner world is making space for abundance. Before your outer life can change, your inner life must believe it's possible. End of chapter 28. There will also be subtle changes in the choices you make. In survival mode, decisions are usually driven by immediate needs and the desire to avoid risk. But as abundance approaches, you begin to take actions that are more about growth than protection. You might invest time into learning something new, take a chance on an opportunity that once felt too uncertain, or simply allow yourself to rest without guilt. These small shifts in behavior show that you are no longer operating from pure scarcity. You are preparing for expansion. Even if you can't see the full picture yet, your actions are already aligning with it. Sometimes the first signs of abundance come in the form of people entering your life. Someone might offer you advice, resources, or encouragement at just the right moment. You may cross paths with someone who sees your potential and opens a door you didn't even know existed. These encounters may feel like coincidences, but they are part of the alignment that happens when you're moving into a new season. The right people, opportunities, and resources begin to find their way to you, not because you are forcing them to appear, but because you have started to resonate with the energy of abundance. Another sign is that you begin to feel less attached to the things you used to cling to for security. In survival mode, you often hold on tightly to whatever you have because it feels like letting go would leave you vulnerable. But as abundance draws near, you naturally start to release what no longer serves you. You may let go of relationships that drain you, habits that keep you stagnant, or fears that no longer feel as powerful as they once did. This release is a sign that you are making space for something better. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but it is a necessary part of the shift. Abundance also begins to show itself in the way you handle challenges. Struggles may still come, but you respond to them differently. Instead of spiraling into panic, you begin to see them as temporary, as something you can handle and overcome. You start trusting yourself more, knowing that you have the strength and resourcefulness to move through difficulties. This change in perspective is not just a reaction, it is a sign of deeper resilience that abundance will build upon. The challenges no longer define you, they simply pass through you as you continue moving forward. One of the most beautiful early signs of abundance is gratitude. When you begin to appreciate what you have now, even if it's far from perfect, you align yourself with receiving more. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present, and in doing so you begin to notice that your life already contains pieces of what you've been longing for. The more you lean into this awareness, the more your sense of lack fades, and the more you draw in experiences that match your gratitude. Abundance feeds on acknowledgement. The more you recognize it, the more it multiplies. You may also find that your intuition becomes stronger. You feel a quiet pull towards certain choices, ideas, or paths, even when they don't seem logical at first. In survival mode, you may have ignored these nudges because fear made you cling to the familiar. But now you begin to trust them. You follow the impulse to reach out to someone, to explore a new opportunity, or to make a change that feels right in your gut. This intuitive guidance is a sign that you are connected to a flow larger than yourself, one that is leading you toward greater fulfillment. The shift from survival to abundance is not always dramatic in its early stages. It often happens like the change of seasons. Slowly, quietly, until one day you look around and realize that everything feels different. The trees are in bloom, the days are warmer, and the air carries a different scent. In your life, this means you'll wake up one morning and notice that you no longer feel weighed down in the same way. The urgency, the desperation, the constant fight, they've started to fade, replaced by a steady, grounded sense that you are okay. They are okay, and that better is on its way. These early signs are not to be underestimated. They are proof that abundance begins within long before it shows up outside. When you start feeling lighter, more hopeful, and more open to possibility, you are already living in the energy of abundance. The outer evidence will catch up in time, but the inner transformation is the true foundation. Once you feel it inside, nothing can stop it from taking shape in the world around you, and that is how you know the shift is real. Because you no longer need to see it to believe it. You believe it, and then you see it.